The year was 2157. Earth had just begun to reach beyond its atmosphere in meaningful ways. Mars had small research stations. The Moon had its first permanent city with 5,000 people. Humanity was proud of these small steps into space. Then, the Caldraxians came. Their ships appeared suddenly near Jupiter. They were huge vessels that made human spacecraft look like toys. Earth's governments panicked. Military forces went on high alert. People wondered if this was the end of human civilization. Jack Monroe was not supposed to be important. He worked as a junior diplomat for the North American Coalition. His job usually involved boring meetings about trade rules. He had never expected to meet aliens. "We need someone to make first contact," said Director Helen Smith. Her face looked tired on the video call. "Someone who won't cause an incident." Jack blinked in surprise. "You want me to talk to the aliens? You have the right temperament. Calm. Thoughtful. You listen more than you talk." Director Smith sighed. "Most importantly, you're available right now." 24 hours later, Jack sat in a small shuttle approaching the Caldraxian mothership. His hands shook slightly as he reviewed the greeting messages prepared by Earth's leading linguists and anthropologists. The Caldraxian who met him was named Zorthal. The alien stood nearly 8 feet tall with blue-gray skin that seemed to shimmer. Forearms moved with precise grace as Zorthal welcomed Jack aboard. "We have studied your transmissions," the alien said through a translation device. Its voice sounded like rocks sliding together. "Your species is young but interesting." Jack tried to appear confident. "We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization." Zorthal made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peace is acceptable. We seek knowledge exchange. Your biological sciences have taken unusual paths." Over the next weeks, Jack found himself negotiating a deal that would change human history forever. The Caldraxians offered limited, faster-than-light technology. In exchange, they wanted access to Earth's research on adaptive biology and medicine. "They seem too willing," Jack told President Susan Walters during a secure call. "Their technology is thousands of years beyond ours. Why trade with us at all?" The president looked thoughtful. "Our scientists believe the Caldraxians evolved differently. They advanced quickly in physics and engineering, but their biological science lagged behind. Something about their evolution made certain areas of research difficult for them." "So they need us?" Jack asked. "They find us useful," the president corrected. "Don't mistake that for need. Be careful, Monroe." The agreement was signed 3 months after first contact. Earth received basic plans for faster-than-light drives. The Caldraxians received access to human medical research. Dr. Olivia Reeves led the team studying the alien technology. She was brilliant and determined. Within 2 months, she had not only understood the Caldraxian designs, but found serious flaws in them. "Their approach to quantum folding is elegant, but unstable," she explained to Jack during his visit to her lab. Complicated diagrams floated in the air between them. They solved the math but missed something important in the practical application. Jack nodded, though he understood little of the science. "Can we fix it?" "Already have," Olivia said, with pride. "Our version will be safer and more efficient than theirs." The Caldraxians seemed amused by human progress. They called humans clever younglings in their communications. They did not appear concerned when Earth began building its first faster-than-light test ship ahead of schedule. 6 months into the knowledge exchange, the Caldraxians suddenly stopped responding to messages. Their ships moved away from the solar system without explanation. Earth's leaders feared they had somehow offended the powerful aliens. The answer came 3 weeks later, when a small Caldraxian vessel entered Earth orbit. The message was simple and desperate. A disease was spreading through their colonies. Their people were dying by the millions. Dr. Reeves received samples of the pathogen. Her team worked day and night to understand it. The disease was spaceborne, something that attacked Caldraxian biology at the cellular level. "It's like nothing we've seen before," she told the emergency council. Dark circles showed under her eyes from lack of sleep. But we understand cellular defense mechanisms they don't. We might be able to create a treatment. Admiral Peter Donovan leaned forward at the meeting table. Should we? This could be our chance to gain advantage over a superior power. The room fell silent. President Walters stood slowly. That is not who we are, she said firmly. We are not going to let millions die when we might save them. Dr. Reeves, you have whatever resources you need. For 30 days, Dr. Reeves and her international team worked without stopping. They created and discarded hundreds of potential treatments. The reports from Caldraxian space grew worse. Entire planets were under quarantine. Their civilization was starting to collapse. On the 31st day, Dr. Reeves found the answer, a complex protein that could recognize and neutralize the pathogen. Production began immediately, and Earth's first faster-than-light ship carried the cure to Caldraxian space. Jack Monroe went along as Earth's representative. What he saw changed him forever. The mighty Caldraxians were humbled by disease. Their grand cities were quiet. Their powerful ships floated empty in orbit. The cure worked quickly. Within days, the sick began to recover. The Caldraxians watched, in wonder as humans, creatures they had viewed as primitive, saved them from extinction. 1 month later, Supreme Overlord Crexmore of the Caldraxian Empire addressed the Galactic Council, a gathering of advanced civilizations that humans had not known existed. We owe our continued existence to these humans, the Supreme Overlord declared. His massive form dominated the transmission Earth received. By the ancient laws, our debt is absolute. No human fully understood what these words meant. Caldraxian culture was still largely a mystery. Their concept of debt went beyond human understanding. They seem very serious about owing us, Jack told President Walters after returning to Earth. In their culture, this appears to be something sacred. Will they want to renegotiate our agreements? The president asked. Jack shook his head. I don't think so. This is something deeper, something about honor and obligation. Well, the president said with a small smile, having a technologically superior alien civilization feel indebted to us can't be a bad thing. She was wrong. Very wrong. Because no human could imagine what the Caldraxians would consider appropriate repayment. No human could picture the lengths they would go to settle their debt. And no human could prepare for what that debt would bring to Earth's doorstep. The Caldraxians withdrew to their territory. Communication became less frequent. Years passed as humanity expanded through the solar system, building colonies and developing the new faster-than-light technology. No one knew that across the galaxy, the Caldraxians were preparing a gift that would change everything. A gift that would bring both salvation and terrible danger. The debt would be repaid, and humanity would never be the same. 20 years passed since humanity saved the Caldraxian Empire from extinction. Earth and its colonies prospered. With faster-than-light technology, humans had spread beyond their solar system. Mars was now home to millions. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn had thriving settlements. Humanity had even established its first extrasolar colony on a planet they named New Hope. Lisa Wright commanded the patrol ship Defender at the edge of the solar system. She was good at her job, calm under pressure, smart. The kind of leader people followed without question. Captain, we're picking up energy readings, said Ryan Wells, her sensor officer. His voice was steady, but his eyes showed worry. Many large objects approaching from Sector 7. Lisa moved to his station. Show me. The screen displayed hundreds of massive energy signatures moving toward the solar system in perfect formation. Lisa felt her heart beat faster. She knew those energy patterns, Caldraxian ships, she said quietly. Hundreds of them. Ryan looked up at her. Warfleet, send a message to Earth Defense Command immediately. Code Red. Lisa returned to her chair. Then hail the lead Caldraxian vessel. No answer came from the alien ships. They continued their silent approach, moving faster than any human vessel could travel. Back on Earth, Admiral Jack Monroe faced the Security Council. 20 years had turned his hair gray. But his eyes remained sharp. He had risen through the ranks as humanity's leading expert on the Caldraxians. We haven't heard from them in nearly 15 years, he explained to the worried faces around the table. Now they send a fleet larger than anything we've ever seen without warning or message. President Sharon Wright, Commander Lisa Wright's mother, looked grim. Could they be planning an attack? After all we did for them? Unknown, Jack replied. Honestly, their culture is complex. Their concept of debt might mean something very different from our understanding. Dr. Olivia Reeves joined the meeting by video call from her underground lab in Geneva. Age had slowed her body, but not her mind. I've been studying strange transmissions from the direction of Caldraxian space for months. Their patterns don't match any known attack protocols. Her assistant, Ben Morrison, appeared beside her on screen. We believe they're preparing something. Big, but not necessarily hostile. They could destroy our entire civilization in hours, said General Victor Ramirez, head of Earth's military forces. We should prepare for the worst. President Wright nodded. Activate all defense systems. Move civilians to the shelters, but do not fire unless fired upon. Remember, we still know very little about their true intentions. The Caldraxian fleet arrived faster than expected. Within 2 days, their massive ships filled Earth's skies. Similar ships appeared over Mars, Europa, Titan, and New Hope. Their dark hulls blocked out the sun like artificial eclipses. People looked up in fear as shadows fell across every human settlement. In her lab, Dr. Reeves worked frantically to decode the increasingly complex transmissions. There's a pattern here, she told Ben as they studied the data. It's almost like they're trying to... Her words stopped suddenly. Ben looked up to see her frozen in place, her eyes unfocused. Dr. Reeves? He asked, concerned. Then he felt it too. A presence in his mind. In everyone's mind. The Caldraxians were speaking directly into the thoughts of every human simultaneously. We have come to repay our debt. The telepathic message resonated through billions of human minds. Prepare yourselves. The gift cannot be refused. The message repeated 3 times. Then silence fell. Humans everywhere stood stunned by this display of technology far beyond their comprehension. On the Washington Mall, a massive Caldraxian ship descended from the sky. It landed gently on the open ground, crushing nothing despite its enormous size. A delegation of world leaders gathered, led by President Wright. Admiral Monroe stood beside her, along with Dr. Reeves, who had been rushed to the location, General Ramirez, and other key officials. A door opened in the side of the ship. Light poured out, and from it emerged the most impressive Caldraxian any human had ever seen. 15 feet tall, with shimmering skin that seemed to change colors with each movement. 4 powerful arms moved with grace. Eyes that contained swirling galaxies of light. Supreme Overlord Crexmore, Jack whispered to President Wright. Their highest leader. The alien ruler approached slowly, flanked by guards who carried strange devices. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like distant thunder, while a translator device converted his words. 20 of your years ago, humanity saved our civilization from extinction, Crexmore said. Such a debt cannot be ignored. President Wright stepped forward bravely. Your people have been absent for many years. We were concerned. We have been preparing, Crexmore replied. In accordance with the ancient law of Kelvora, we must repay our debt with a gift of equal value to what was given. You saved our species from death. Therefore, we must give you the means to save yourselves from what is coming. Jack moved closer. What is coming? Crexmore turned his galaxy-filled eyes toward the human. The destroyers, the consumers of worlds, the Vrul. The alien leader raised one massive hand. Images appeared in the air around them. Terrible scenes of planets being consumed by what looked like living darkness. Entire civilizations falling, in days. The images were so vivid, so real, that several humans stepped back in horror. We fought them and failed, Crexmore continued. Half our empire is already lost. But in our defeat, we found hope. You humans, your minds work differently than ours. your creativity, your adaptability, your unpredictable nature. These qualities may succeed where our rigid order failed. You expect us to fight your war? General Ramirez asked, his voice sharp. It is already your war, Crexmore replied calmly. The Vrul consume everything in their path. They will reach your worlds within 5 of your years. Alone, you will perish instantly. The Supreme Overlord gestured to his guards. They stepped forward, opening cases that contained devices unlike anything humans had seen before. We bring you the gift of unmaking, Crexmore announced. Technology that can unmake reality itself. Weapons and defenses beyond your current understanding. Knowledge accumulated over thousands of years. All this, we give freely to repay our debt. Dr. Reeves approached one of the devices cautiously. It hummed with energy that made the air around it shimmer. This technology, she said quietly, it's incredible. It will not be enough, Crexmore said. Not used as we used it. But perhaps, used as only humans can, it might save both our peoples. Around the world and across human settlements in space, similar scenes played out. Caldraxian ships landing, gifts being presented, technology transferred. The aliens began rebuilding human cities, enhancing orbital stations, and transforming infrastructure without asking permission. In orbit, Commander Lisa Wright watched as Caldraxian engineers rebuilt her ship in hours, turning the simple patrol vessel into something far more powerful. They're preparing us, she told her crew, but for what kind of fight? The answer would come sooner than anyone expected. At the edge of the solar system, sensors designed by the Caldraxians detected the first signs of the approaching enemy. A darkness between the stars that moved with purpose. Hunger that spanned galaxies. The Vrul were coming, and humanity had much to learn before they arrived. A month passed since the Caldraxians arrived with their warning and gifts. Human cities now looked different. Tall, strange buildings with curved shapes rose between the old human structures. Energy shields shimmed in the sky above every settlement. Ordinary people received medical treatments that made them stronger and healthier than ever before. Dr. Olivia Reeves worked day and night to understand the Caldraxian technology. Her lab in Geneva had expanded deep underground. Ben Morrison and 50 other scientists helped her study the alien devices. This makes no sense, Ben said one night. He pointed at a small silver object floating above their main table. It seems to bend reality around it. Olivia nodded. Her old hands shook slightly as she adjusted her glasses. The Caldraxians call it a phase shifter. It can move objects out of normal space. Like a teleporter? No. More like it sends things to another dimension entirely. But the energy required would be… Olivia stopped, her eyes wide. Ben, what if we connected it to the power grid? Not just one lab's power, but the entire European system. Ben looked shocked. That would be dangerous. So is extinction, Olivia replied. She picked up her phone to call Admiral Monroe. At the United Nations building in New York, world leaders met with Caldraxian representatives. Supreme Overlord Crexmore had returned to his ship, but Ambassador Zorthal remained as the alien spokesman. President Wright led the human delegation. Our engineers have transformed 8% of your infrastructure, Zorthal explained. We must complete at least 60% before the Vrul arrive. Your people are changing our world without asking permission, President Wright said firmly. Humans are grateful for your help, but we need to understand what you're doing. Admiral. Monroe sat nearby, watching carefully. Beside him, General Ramirez looked uncomfortable. The Caldraxians act like they own our planet now, the general whispered. Jack nodded slightly. They're afraid. I've never seen them afraid before. Zorthal placed a device on the table. It projected a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Small, red light spread across one side, consuming green dots as they moved. The Vrul have already taken 3,000 inhabited worlds, the alien said. They do not communicate. They do not negotiate. They consume all matter and energy, then move on. What exactly are they? Asked President Wright. They were weapons, Zorthal replied, created long ago by a species called the Ancients, living machines designed to destroy their enemies. But the Ancients lost control. The Vrul evolved. became something more, something worse. The room fell silent. The alien continued. We fought for 200 of your years. Our most powerful weapons only slowed them. Our most brilliant strategies only delayed them. Now we bring everything we learned to you. Jack leaned forward. Why us? What makes you think humans can succeed where you failed? Zorthal's four eyes blinked in sequence. You saved us with solutions we never considered. Your minds work differently. You see possibilities we cannot. You're betting the survival of both our species on human creativity? President Wright asked. Yes, the alien said simply. We have no other option. In orbit around Earth, Commander Lisa Wright supervised the transformation of the human space fleet. Her ship, Defender, now contained weapons she barely understood. Her crew trained with Caldraxian instructors, learning to use technology beyond human design. The gravity well generator can collapse a star, explained her Caldraxian advisor, a technician named Meklar. But be careful. Too much power will create a black hole. Lisa felt dizzy thinking about such power. Why give us weapons that could destroy solar systems? Isn't that dangerous? Meklar's face remained expressionless. The Vrul consumed my home, planet, my family, my entire history. I watched it happen from a distance. There is no weapon too powerful against such an enemy. Lisa nodded slowly. I'm sorry about your home. Sorrow will not defeat the Vrul, Meklar replied. Only unthinkable action will save us. Back in her lab, Dr. Reeves made a breakthrough. She connected the phase shifter to a larger power source. The device hummed loudly, then created a window in the air. Through it, she and Ben could see a strange landscape with purple sky and floating rocks. Another dimension, Olivia whispered. We've opened a door to somewhere else. Ben stepped closer to the window. Could we send the Vrul there? Maybe. Olivia looked thoughtful. But we'd need much more power, and a way to target only the Vrul, not everything around them. She began making notes quickly. New ideas filled her mind. Human ideas that the Caldraxians might never have considered. Outside the solar system, at a monitoring station built by the Caldraxians, the first alarm sounded. A young officer named Kevin Garcia was the first human to see the actual Vrul approaching. There's something at the edge of our sensor range, he told his supervisor. It's like a shadow moving between the stars. The supervisor, a Caldraxian named Tordak, looked at the screen. His body stiffened. They are early. Send the alert. Now. Kevin hit the emergency button. Across the solar system, alarms began to sound. On Earth, in orbiting stations on Mars and the outer colonies, humans prepared for their first encounter with the enemy. Admiral Monroe rushed to the Defense Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains. President Wright and her advisors gathered. There too, General Ramirez activated all military forces. The outer monitoring station has gone silent, an officer reported. Last transmission showed something approaching Europa colony. Jack felt cold fear in his stomach. Get me Commander Wright on the Defender. Position her fleet between Europa and Earth. In her lab, Dr. Reeves worked frantically. The phase shifter can work on a larger scale, she told Ben. We need to modify the design. Make it broadcast a field instead of a single point effect. That would take weeks, Ben protested. We have hours, Olivia replied. Her old hands moved with surprising speed across her computer. Call every scientist on the team. We need to work faster. On Europa, the human colony of 50,000 people saw darkness descending from space. Not ships like the Caldraxians had. More like a living shadow that moved with purpose. Colony Administrator Donna Lee sent one final message before communications failed. They're here. God help us all. The Defender and 5 other ships arrived too late. Europa was gone. Not destroyed, simply consumed. Where the moon had been, only empty space remained. Commander Lisa Wright stared at her view screen in horror. All that life, she whispered. Gone in minutes. Her Caldraxian advisor stood beside her. Now you understand. Now you know what we face. Lisa straightened her back. Her face hardened. with determination. Plot a course to Ganymede colony. We'll evacuate everyone before the Vrul reach them. On Earth, humans began to truly understand the danger. This was not a war they could win with conventional thinking. This was not an enemy they could negotiate with or intimidate. The Caldraxians had given humanity the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. But humanity's greatest weapon had always been its mind, its ability to imagine what others could not, to try what others would not dare. As the Vrul approached, humanity prepared to think the unthinkable. The Vrul moved through the outer solar system with terrifying speed. After consuming Europa, they turned toward Ganymede. Commander Lisa Wright and her fleet evacuated the colony just in time. Thousands of frightened people crowded onto ships as the living darkness approached. "We can't keep running," Lisa told her officers as they headed toward Mars. "We need to fight back." Her second-in-command, Paul Chen, looked worried. "How do we fight something that eats entire moons?" "With the weapons the Caldraxians gave us," Lisa replied. She turned to Meklar, her Caldraxian advisor. "It's time to test the gravity well generator." On her command, the defender turned to face the approaching Vrul. The main weapon powered up, drawing energy from the ship's core. The bridge crew watched nervously as the target locked. "Fire!" Lisa ordered. A beam of concentrated gravity shot from the ship toward the leading edge of the Vrul swarm. Space itself seemed to bend. The darkness twisted and compressed into a tiny point of incredible density. For a moment, it seemed like victory. Then the compressed Vrul expanded again, unchanged. "Impossible," Meklar whispered. "That should have crushed them completely." Lisa gripped her chair tightly. "Fall back to Mars. We need a new plan." On Earth, Dr. Olivia Reeves made progress with the phase shifter technology. Working with Ben Morrison and scientists around the world, she developed a way to project a phase shift field across large areas of space. "The Vrul exist in our dimension," she explained to Admiral Monroe and President Wright in an emergency meeting. "If we can change the nature of space around them, they might not be able to function. Like changing the rules of the game while they're playing it," Ben added. Jack looked thoughtful. "Can you make it work on a solar system scale?" "With enough power, yes," Olivia said. "But we'd need to place transmitters throughout the system, and we don't know how the Vrul will react." President Wright nodded. "Begin immediately. General Ramirez will provide whatever resources you need." On Mars, the Earth Defense Force prepared for battle. 3 million colonists evacuated to Earth while soldiers and ships moved into position. Commander Wright coordinated with ground, forces led by Colonel Sandra Blake. "The gravity weapons don't work," Lisa warned. "We need to try the other technologies." Colonel Blake nodded on the video screen. "My teams have the molecular disruptors ready. If these things have any physical form, we'll tear it apart." The Vrul arrived at Mars 2 days later. From orbit, Lisa watched as the darkness descended toward the red planet. Ground forces fired their weapons. Blue energy beams cut into the Vrul mass. Parts of it seemed to disappear, but more flowed in to replace what was lost. "It's working," Colonel Blake reported. "Keep firing." For one hopeful hour, humans held their ground. The disruptor weapons tore holes in the Vrul swarm. Caldraxian shields protected the main bases. It seemed like humanity might win its first battle. Then the Vrul changed. Their formless mass solidified into thousands of smaller shapes. Creatures with too many limbs and no faces crawled across the Martian surface. They moved faster than before. The disruptor beams had less effect on these solid forms. "They're adapting," Meklar said with horror. "They never did this against our forces." Colonel Blake's transmission became urgent. "They're overwhelming our positions. We need immediate evacuation." Lisa ordered all ships to rescue the ground forces. The Defender landed near the main base as Vrul creatures swarmed toward it. Soldiers ran for their lives, firing behind them as they retreated. "Get everyone on board," Lisa shouted over the comm system. She watched from the bridge as her crew helped the last survivors inside. Colonel Blake was the last to enter. Behind her, the Vrul had reached the base perimeter. As the ship's doors closed, she collapsed with exhaustion. "They learn," she gasped. They watched what worked against them and changed to counter it. The Defender and the remaining ships escaped. Mars below them, the red planet darkened as the Vrul consumed everything humans had built there. Back on Earth, Admiral Monroe received the news with grim determination. "We can't defeat them with direct attacks," he told the War Council. "Every time we try something new, they adapt." President Wright looked around the table. "Options?" General Ramirez spoke first. "Fall back to Earth. Use everything we have for a last stand." "That's not a winning strategy," Jack replied. "Dr. Reeves, how soon can your phase shift system be ready?" 2 more days, Olivia said from her video screen. "We've placed transmitters throughout Earth orbit. The power requirements are enormous, but we've linked every power plant on the planet." In her lab, Olivia worked despite her exhaustion. Ben brought her coffee and made her rest occasionally, but time was running out. The phase shift technology was humanity's best hope. "We're not using it the way the Caldraxians designed it," Ben noted as they made final adjustments. "They never thought to change an entire region of space at once." Olivia smiled slightly. "Human creativity. It's what they were counting on." The Vrul finished with Mars and moved toward Earth. The remaining human fleet gathered in Earth orbit, ready for a final battle. Commander Wright's ships had taken damage but still functioned. In a surprising move, Supreme Overlord Crexmore himself arrived with the last Caldraxian battle fleet. His enormous flagship joined the human defenders. "We stand with you," the alien leader told President Wright in a joint communication. "Our debt will be paid in blood if necessary." Aboard the Defender, Lisa met with Caldraxian ship commanders to coordinate their defense plans. "Standard weapons don't work for long," she explained. "We need to try something completely different." One Caldraxian commander, a battle-scarred veteran named Drakvor, leaned forward. "What do you suggest, human?" Lisa outlined a plan that made the aliens uncomfortable. "We don't try to destroy them. We change the battlefield itself." Admiral Monroe watched Earth from the orbital command station. The beautiful blue planet might have only hours left. A lifetime of service had prepared him for many things, but not the possible end of human civilization. His communication device beeped. Dr. Reeves appeared on screen. "Jack, we're ready. The phase shift system is operational." "Good," he replied. "Commander Wright will coordinate with your team. When the Vrul reach our defensive line, we'll activate the system." The Vrul approached faster than expected. Their mass had grown after consuming Mars. They moved like a living storm of darkness between the planets. Sensors detected them approaching the moon. Lisa positioned her fleet behind Earth's moon. "Let them come close," she ordered. "We need them fully committed to the attack." The darkness reached lunar orbit and began to consume the moon. Chunks of the satellite disappeared into the Vrul swarm. On Earth, people watched in horror as the moon visibly shrank in the sky. "Now," Lisa commanded. Dr. Reeves activated the phase shift system. Energy surged through the global power grid. Transmitters throughout Earth orbit began to pulse with strange light. A wave of reality-altering energy spread outward from the planet. Space itself changed. The laws of physics shifted. Normal matter remained unaffected, but the Vrul began to come apart. Not destroyed, but unable to maintain their form in the altered space. Their darkness scattered like smoke and wind. "It's working," someone shouted on the command channel. The battle had just begun. But for the first time, humanity had found a way to fight back. The phase shift wave spread through space, turning the Vrul from solid darkness into scattered particles. For the first time, humanity had found a weapon that worked, but the victory was not complete. The Vrul began to pull back, retreating to regroup. "They're learning again," Lisa said from the bridge of the Defender. "We hurt them, but they're not defeated." Admiral Monroe ordered all ships to maintain position around Earth. "Dr. Reeves, how long can we keep the phase shift field active?" Olivia looked tired on the video screen. "The power drain is enormous. Maybe 12 more hours before global systems start to fail." Jack turned to President Wright. "We have a temporary advantage. We need to use it." President Wright nodded. "What do you suggest?" "Take the fight to them," Jack said firmly. "Push them back while they're vulnerable. Commander Wright can lead our fleet with the Caldraxian ships. Lisa received her orders with determination. She gathered her captains, both human and Caldraxian, to plan the attack. We'll extend the phase shift field as we advance, she explained. Keep them off balance. Meklar, her Caldraxian advisor, looked at her with new respect. Your people have accomplished what we could not. Perhaps there is hope. The combined fleet moved beyond the moon's orbit, pushing the retreating Vrul further into space. Dr. Reeves worked with her team to extend the range of the phase shift field. They mounted transmitters on the largest warships, creating a moving bubble of altered physics that continued to disrupt the enemy. On Earth, Ben Morrison made an important discovery while studying Vrul particles collected from space. They're not just adapting, he told Olivia over the secure channel. They're evolving at an accelerated rate. Each time we hurt them, they become more resistant. Olivia frowned. How long before they adapt to the phase shift? Days, maybe less, Ben replied. We need something new before they figure it out. In deep space, the human Caldraxian fleet continued to push the Vrul back. Lisa stood on her bridge, watching tactical displays as the enemy retreated beyond Mars' orbit. The destroyed colonies could not be saved, but Earth remained safe for now. Supreme Overlord Crexmore contacted her from his flagship. Commander Wright, your tactic has succeeded beyond our expectations. The debt we owe humanity grows deeper. We're not finished yet, Lisa replied. The Vrul are still learning. We need a permanent solution. On Earth, Dr. Reeves called an emergency meeting with Admiral Monroe and President Wright. Despite her age, she had not slept in 3 days. The phase shift field is only temporary, she explained. The Vrul are already showing signs of adaptation, but I have another idea. Jack leaned forward. We're listening. The Caldraxians gave us technology to alter reality, Olivia said, but they always thought in terms of weapons. What if we don't try to destroy the Vrul? What if we change them instead? President Wright looked confused. Change them? How? Every living thing evolves to survive in its environment, Olivia explained. The Vrul adapt faster than anything we've seen. What if we use that against them? Create an environment where they must evolve into something harmless to survive. The idea was bold, revolutionary. Ben helped Olivia develop a new version of the phase shift technology. Instead of simply disrupting the Vrul, it would create conditions that forced them to evolve in a specific direction. We need to test it, Ben said as they finished the prototype. Olivia nodded. Get me a secure container with Vrul particles. In space, the situation grew more dangerous. The Vrul stopped retreating and began to resist the phase shift field. Parts of their mass solidified into new forms that could withstand the altered physics. The fleet's advance halted as battles erupted across the front line. Lisa received reports of Vrul adaptations from multiple ships. They're getting stronger, she told Admiral Monroe. We're losing our advantage. Hold them as long as you can, Jack replied. Dr. Reeves is working on a solution. In her lab, Olivia activated the modified phase shift device on a small container of Vrul particles. The darkness inside writhed and changed. After 10 minutes, it settled into a new form. Not the consuming darkness it had been, but a stable crystalline structure that glowed with soft light. It worked, Olivia whispered. She looked at Ben with tired eyes. Get Admiral Monroe. Tell him we need to deploy this immediately. The new plan required all ships to pull back to Earth. Lisa didn't like retreating, but she followed orders. Her fleet took defensive positions around the planet as the Vrul advanced once more, now partially resistant to the original phase shift field. All ships prepare to deploy the new transmitters, Lisa commanded. She watched her display as each vessel acknowledged. On my mark, activate. Earth's entire power grid channeled energy to the new system. The modified phase shift wave spread outward, different from the first attack. This time, the altered space didn't just disrupt the Vrul, it reshaped them. The effect started at the edges of the Vrul mass. Dark tendrils turned crystalline, glowing with internal light. The transformation spread through their entire being. The Vrul struggled against it, trying to adapt in different ways, but the phase shift field forced them along a single evolutionary path. Hour by hour, the transformation continued. The Vrul stopped advancing. Their entire mass hung in space, changing from consuming darkness to crystalline light. "What are they becoming?" President Wright asked as she watched from the command center. "Something that doesn't need to consume. Worlds to survive," Olivia explained. "A form that can exist peacefully in normal space." After 3 days, the transformation was complete. Where the Vrul had been, a vast field of crystal structures floated in space. They glowed with gentle light but showed no signs of aggression. Sensors detected energy patterns within them, signs that they still lived in some form. Lisa approached a small cluster in her ship. "Are they still dangerous?" "I don't believe so," Olivia replied over the comm. "We've changed their fundamental nature. They no longer need to consume to exist." Supreme Overlord Crexmore's flagship moved alongside the Defender. "You have done what we thought impossible," the Caldraxian leader said. "You did not merely destroy the enemy, you transformed them." In the aftermath, humanity and the Caldraxians began to rebuild. The moon was damaged but not destroyed. Mars would take decades to recover. The outer colonies were gone, but Earth remained safe. 1 month after the final battle, Supreme Overlord Crexmore met with President Wright, Admiral Monroe, and Dr. Reeves in the rebuilt United Nations building. "Our debt is paid," Crexmore announced, formally. "You saved our species once with medicine. We saved yours with technology. But you have given the galaxy something more valuable, a new way of thinking." Jack smiled slightly. "We just approached the problem differently." "That difference is everything," the alien leader replied. "For thousands of years, my people sought to destroy our enemies. You sought to transform them. This wisdom may save countless civilizations." As the Caldraxians prepared to return to their remaining territories, they offered humanity a place in the Galactic Council. Earth would become a center for learning and diplomacy, teaching other species the creative approach that had saved the galaxy. Dr. Olivia Reeves watched the Caldraxian ships depart from her office window. Despite her age, she had been appointed Earth's first ambassador to the stars. Ben stood beside her, now her chief assistant. "What happens to the transformed Vrul?" he asked. "We study them," Olivia replied. "Learn from them. There's something entirely new now." Admiral Monroe joined them, looking out at the night sky where the crystalline structures could be seen as new stars. "When the Caldraxians said they owed us a debt, we never imagined where it would lead." "The unthinkable happened," Olivia said, quietly. "We faced extinction and found a better way forward. Not through destruction, but through transformation. As humanity rebuilt and looked to the stars, they carried forward their greatest strength, the ability to imagine solutions others could not see, to think the unthinkable, and in doing so, to change the future of the entire galaxy. The debt had been repaid, and something greater had been born."